Hi everyone, so today I thought I'd start with some black fur and the importance of layering and how there's not just black in black fur, there's blacks, there's purples, there's greys and lots of different colours, and the layering will bring depth. I'm going to be using some soft pastel sticks and Faber-Castell Pit Pastel pencils. You can use any other soft pastel pencils for this, and I'm going to be using Clairefontaine pastel matte paper. I find that's one of the best. It holds a lot of pastel and allows you to build up a lot of layers. So enough of me going on, let's get into it. Okay, so first of all I'm just bringing in a pastel stick just to bring in some base layer of white pastel. This will help fill in any of the crevices in the paper, and it helps to be able to blend later on. You don't have to worry too much at this stage, it's just getting pastel down onto the paper. Now I'm coming in with a blue. You can see different colours in the fur when you really look, and you want to put the fur colours down as a base layer because they will come through and it gives the depth to the fur. I always try and go in the direction of the fur. I always try and make it a habit to do that from the beginning. And I always try and start doing the lighter colours first, so I try and go light to dark because it's much easier to darken a colour than lighten it. Just putting in a bit of a darker blue here. Like I said, at the moment it's just putting down pastel on paper. Going light to dark isn't a necessity, but with pastels, unlike coloured pencils, you really want to go light to dark, but I find it just helps to keep that ethos. I came in there with a bit of more of a purple colour, and I'm just trying to keep the highlighted areas of the fur roughly highlighted as I go. And now I'm coming with a blending stick just to blend and push that pastel into the pastel mat. This allows for more layers to go on top, and it also allows you to get a finer line when you're putting in more detailed fur. You're blending it all together. Like I said, it doesn't matter too much at the moment. This is just the base layer. And now I'm starting to come in with a brown. Just add in a little bit so that it comes through ever so slightly on the final finished picture. And again, you're trying to define the hairs a little bit more at this stage. And as you can see, having that base layer of smooth pastel gives you more defined lines. Okay, and now I'm coming in with a black. And you keep doing this process over and over, just building up the layers. Just going over with the blending stump again. Purposely trying to miss a few areas now, and I'm not pressing quite as hard with the blending stump. So I want to start to create some hairs or definition of hairs. And then it's a process of just going over and over and over, doing the same process, building up those layers. And each time you do it, you're adding a few more hairs, a few more details are being left. At this point you want to try and make sure your pencils have got a point to them. And as you can see, because they're going down on a smoother layer of pastel, they are leaving more defined lines. In certain areas I'll be pressing slightly harder than in other areas, obviously to try and build darker and lighter areas of the fur, where there's highlights or lumps and bumps. And you can see now that it's starting to look a little bit more like fur. It's always hard to see when you do just a small area which isn't really connected to a picture. But if you can imagine doing this on a whole animal, then it brings to life the animal and brings depth and the fur to life. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but you can see the colours through the fur, through the black that you're putting on top now, and it is bringing a little bit more depth to the fur. Obviously it is a black fur dog, so you're going to use more black than anything. And again, it's not always purples and blues, sometimes it's a different grey, light grey, dark grey, very light blue. Blue I find is always a good colour for bringing depth to highlights. And now I'm just being a little bit more selective with the blending tool, just using light pressure, just to try and capture those darker areas. Now coming in with a white to just really accentuate those highlighted areas. This is bringing in the details now, so you need a sharp pencil and you can just do a few little crossover hairs just to bring some realism to it. Fur and hair is very often not straight. I'm just trying to highlight the bits that catch the light. And you can see now that it's starting to look more like fur. And the camera doesn't quite pick it up, but in reality you can see that there's an underlying depth of colour. Just adding in little tiny extra hairs that sometimes come astray or cross over. Pressing slightly harder in some areas. Going in with a little bit of glue. You've got to be careful doing this on top because obviously it can smudge the details, but you can go over it again, bringing in some details, bringing in a bit more colour on top just to accentuate that underlying colour, just to bring it out to the front. And then finally coming in with the dark black again, just to define those hairs and darken it all down a bit. Pressing slightly harder in some areas again than others. Just going over it again. You can go over it almost as many times as you want. At some point you've got to stop. And it's knowing when to stop, especially when you're finishing a drawing, is always sometimes the hardest. Initially starting and knowing when to stop is always the two key parts of drawing I've found. Just going back over it now with some black. And it's just more about adding a few details now and bringing in the darker areas. And again, knowing when to stop. It's just darkening the areas without the highlights, which brings the highlights more to the front. Add in a few more highlights with the white. And the more times you go over it, the more hairs you're producing and the more depth you bring to the fur. And if you were blending this, if this wasn't just a small swatch, if this was a whole animal obviously, you'd be blending it in and connecting it all together. So just going in with a few of the base colours again, just to bring them to the front, and then going over those again with highlighting them with the white pencil. And starting to make sure that these detailed hairs are in. And again, bearing in mind this is just one small section of fur. I noticed that you needed to show a little bit of the blue, so just to help bring it to the front. Don't be afraid to add what you can see, but just do it lightly, and then you can always blend it back in. With a black or a white. Here I'm just adding a bit more of a purple. There's a purple sheen. So here I'm just putting in finer lines, finer details, bringing it all in. And it's always good to know when to stop. I mean, this is just a swatch of fur. It's a little bit difficult to see what it would be like on a whole animal. I'll try and tidy this a little bit up so that you can have a look and see the final result. So I hope this tutorial was of use, and some of the tips and techniques that I use have been some use to you, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you again soon. So if you did like it, please give me a subscribe and a like, and I'll be uploading more videos over the coming weeks. Have a really good day and happy drawing.